Diet and cooking, the food that you eat, will have the biggest impact right now on your cancer. There's a variety of different anti-cancer diet plans that you could be subscribing to, right? There's a vegan diet, there's a keto diet, there's a keto vegan diet, and then there's paleo diets and the SOS diet. It's gonna be slightly different for everyone, and I know for me, we started out very strongly keto vegan. Now I predominantly do intermittent fasting with keto vegan during the week, and I eat paleo on the weekends.
So these are the books that we've progressed through, and we have the links in the description box below. So as we talk about them, if any of them catch your eye, you can get them as well.
Let's start with the book that started everything for us, and that is the book, it's called Vegan Keto by Liz McDowell. Now, Liz, if you're watching this, we love this book. This is very simple kitchen table keto vegan lifestyle. The reason that we need to be keto vegan is because the people who have survived my cancer are largely keto vegan. So we wanted to follow that approach. This is a plant-based ketosis diet. So it's what? It's low carb, like no carb really, high fat, a lot of high fiber, and medium protein. I think that a lot of people think you need more protein than you do. But this book has very simple, easy to execute recipes. And I feel like this book is really consistent with the keto vegan lifestyle. You know, nobody goes keto vegan to eat 2,000 calories a day, right? Like you're gonna drop down to 900, maybe 1,200 calories a day. And so you don't need these big, like overwhelming salads all the time, right? This is a great book that has recipes for soups or for a bunch of, like this quiche recipe is really good. You make them once and then they're little snacks that you can pull out during the week. We've got good fat bomb recipes from this book here. A lot of really great actionable content here. And every recipe has the macros on the bottom so you know where it fits into your diet.
One of the things that I really liked about it is when we first started vegan keto, my first thought was, what the heck are you supposed to eat? How do you get your protein? Like, I didn't understand any of it. And really what she does is helps you be able to fill your pantry and your refrigerator with the basics, the foundations that you need for everything, so that even though it's vegan and keto, you're still getting protein in your diet, right? You're able to make dairy-free but creamy types of dishes that no one really, I've never heard of how to make that, and they taste delicious.
Oh, lupini bean hummus came from this. So we love hummus, right? Who doesn't? But I can't eat chickpeas on a keto vegan diet. There's too much sugar. We found a bean called lupini bean from this book and make that into it. Now, lupini beans by themselves are terrible. But when you make the hummus, it's delicious. Okay, that's book number one. Book number two is Crazy Busy Keto. Now, Crazy Busy Keto is like the Liz McDowell book. It's very practical. I got my 20 bucks or however much it cost. I got my value out of this book before chapter 1. She has a whole guide on how to eat keto when you go out to restaurants. So even though now at this stage, I feel like I'm an expert in eating at restaurants and what to get and what not to get, I didn't know any of that stuff. And I was very depressed that like, oh, I had to go watch my family eat. And then I would pull out like a keto granola bar or something like that. This taught us that we could go get fajitas and then bring my own tortillas that have no carbs in them. And I could still have like a delicious meal at a restaurant. So it's very similar to the Liz McDowell book in that it's extremely practical. This book, I think, is made for the keto dad or the keto mom, right? And it's designed to work with like common household pantry items. Like vegan keto is gonna be highly plant-based and whole foods. This has some of that, but it's also like, hey, in a bind, use the canned chicken. Hey, in a bind, here's what you can do with those spices. And I find that to be very practical. This book was really empowering.
I love this book. This one is called Plant-Based Paleo, and it's by the author Jenna Zoe of The Foods to Love. And one of the reasons why I really liked it is for actually two big reasons. Having to make separate meals, vegan keto meals for him, and then a different meal for our family was first a lot of work. But second, if he has cancer, it helped wake us up to, we don't want cancer either. And if we continue to eat the same foods that he was eating, like we could very well get cancer as well. So it was a wake-up call that we all needed to eat a bit differently anyway. And while we didn't want to go as extreme as a vegan keto diet, especially with children and so forth, we wanted to find a way to be able to have common meals at home that I could adapt really easily for Owen's diet, and yet we can still have the unity of the whole family having a meal together.
Now, that was in the beginning because I'm very active in the kitchen now. But in the beginning of my diagnosis, I was just in such a dark place. It was hard enough to get out of bed in the morning.
Yes.
So
I was making all of the food, and I needed something that was gonna be helpful for all of it. So not only are the recipes in here delicious, but they've got beautiful pictures that are really inspiring. So I can flip through it and be able to go, oh, that looks good, let's make that, right? I also like it because she does put the nutritional information in.
Yeah.
So I'm able to look at a meal and be able to see, okay, you know, I like this, I think we can do it for the whole family. It's got a little bit more carbs because paleo is keto-ish, right? It follows a similar philosophy in that it's higher fat, it's lower carb, right? So that's very similar to keto, but it still uses a lot of plants and pseudograins and things like that that could be more carby than what somebody with a keto diet would want. So I'm able to look at it though and be able to say, okay, this particular idea, this meal has it's served with almond flour tortillas, which is great. That's healthier for all of us, and it's paleo, but I'm gonna serve it to him on a lettuce wrap, and that way it's keto for him, right? But we can still all eat together.
Yeah. Now, paleo, keto, vegan, these are all sort of like diet fads that can apply to people that don't have cancer. So you don't have to have cancer to be on a paleo diet, or there's a lot of people doing keto that aren't cancer patients. But here's the thing, if you are a cancer patient, you are going to be eating a plant-based diet with some modifications or a high ketosis diet with some modifications. And those modifications should really be worked out with you and your integrative doctor, right? Get a nutritionist who has expertise in metabolic therapies that can help you walk through this. Now, we use a company called Integrative Medica, and they will consult over the phone. We put a link in the description box if you need to learn more about ketosis and the cancer diet that's right for you. That brings me to this next book, which is called The Beat Cancer Kitchen, and this is by Chris Beat Cancer, or Chris Wark. And the reason that this book is so important is because Chris was a stage 3 colon cancer patient and like 25 years old, and he beat his cancer. This was 20 years ago, by the way. He's like, you know, older now, but my point is that he beat cancer before YouTube was a thing. He beat cancer before PubMed, you know, was available on the web. And so the recipes that he and his wife put together in this book are things that they actually did. So there's a lot of trust going into this cookbook, but it's not the same as a keto. It's like Chris Wark did not follow a keto plan, right? Or
No.
It's really plant-based, but there's carbs. So what would you call that?
I think it would be just plant-based.
And his recipes are chocked full. Now, he's like a casserole guy. He likes to put sort of a ton of stuff in one dish. So you're getting sort of like cruciferous vegetables, and you're getting, you know, all sorts of like really cool fibers, and there's not a lot of simple meals in here. But for someone like me, who I've kind of progressed past the keto vegan sort of broccoli sprouts for dinner kind of guy, like the breakfast bars recipe, for example, is a great breakfast bar for me to take out. But some of the dragon fruit bowl smoothie, for example, like I can only eat this maybe once a week, maybe once every other week, because it's so full of sugar, but it gives my body the nutrients that it needs. So this is a real, like, these are your new treats, right? Before I got sick, my treat was to go to the ice cream store or whatever, go get junk food with the kids, right? Like I was notorious for junk food with the kids. But the Chris Beat Cancer, this like gives me a break from the keto vegan, gives me a nice weekend or Sabbath meal that's just full of nutrients that don't blow out my macros. Now, it doesn't have macros in it. He's not that kind of guy. He's like, eat these foods for the nutrients they provide. And he does a lot of information giving in here about why he uses the vegetables and the ingredients that he uses. So Chris Beat Cancer at the Beat Cancer Kitchen. This guy has a ton of great books, and you should just follow him and get to know him on Instagram and YouTube as well.
Now this book I love so much. You can see that it's very well and used in our family. It's called The Plant Paradox. It's by Dr. Gundry. And he really flipped the script when it came to plant-based diets with this book. So one of the big reasons why I liked it is, first of all, it follows a lot of the paleo, keto-ish type of philosophy, and the vegan one too. It's mostly plant-based, lots of healthy fats, and so forth. And he bases it on like blue zone research and so forth. So it lends itself very well to keto. There are some keto recipes that he does talk about as far as like a more intensive care type of healing. But even the ones that are not keto are really easily adaptable to keto. Where he differs from a lot of the other authors out there is that he really focuses also on certain types of plants and produce that you shouldn't eat at certain times because of certain organic chemicals in there called lectins.
Wait, so what you're talking about though is like you shouldn't eat fruit out of season.
Those types of things,
right.
Yes. So like eat fruit in its season, make sure that they're locally grown. But he also is part of like healing your body. And we've talked about this in other videos where you go through like a phase of where you're removing things and replacing them and then bringing them back as part of a healing process. He has you go through that. He actually has like a 3-day reset that you do for a cleanse at first. Then you go 6 weeks where you remove a bunch of items from your foods to help heal your gut. And then you bring them slowly back. And then for people with cancer or really bad autoimmune conditions, he has them go through a deeper plant-based keto phase to really work on restoring the body.
Yeah, you know, when I first heard of Gundry's before I had cancer, and I thought it was going too far, right? Because lectins, your food is poisoning you. It sounded like that M. Night Shyamalan video where the plants were trying to kill everybody.
Plants have a chemistry to do this. They release co-transporters into the air.
You think it could be plants?
But here's what I learned is that my body doesn't detox well, so chemicals and toxins store up, which can, and in my case, did result in cancer. And so I didn't want to be ingesting any more toxins, right? So that's what this book taught me, and I learned a lot about eating fruit in season and similar health strategies like that.
Yes. So this book is really more text heavy. It's a lot of the science behind it. And honestly, I don't see how anybody would ever follow this strict protocol that he goes through unless you actually read the science, because it takes some work to do.
You wouldn't, it's like me, I didn't get it, all right?
Right.
It was just like, oh, I gotta eat this way, that's weird, right?
Right.
But then when I started reading the science behind it and what lectins are a natural toxin, you know, and you want to be ingesting as few of those as possible.
Right. So he does include some recipes in here which are helpful, but I wanted to continue on because I have some autoimmune conditions as well that I wanted to address. And so I needed some more inspiration, some more food, because I had to admit, I didn't even think this way, and I ate a lot of lectins. So I actually bought his cookbook as well, which is filled with pictures and delicious recipes so that you can really be able to continue this lifestyle for longer health and longevity.
Right, and you know, I want you guys to know that it's never 100%, right? Like
80-20.
You're gonna do keto really well for a week, and then you're gonna splurge on the weekends, and you know what? That's okay.
Yeah.
The trick is to get fewer splurges in that last for shorter amounts of time while your taste buds sort of digest. Like this lectin stuff, it's very important. I might go a week where I'm like, no lectins this week. But the next week after that, I'm gonna let a few lectins in just to diversify my diet a little bit. You know, you have to maintain an overall goal of what you're trying to do. For us, it's vegan keto, right? That's what reverses my cancer. But we have to pepper in new foods here and there so that my mind doesn't get bored and you don't go crazy.
I think what you're saying is really important, and I think that was the biggest takeaway that I got from this, was that I had a one way of eating that I had done my whole life.
Yeah.
And it really opens you up to thinking about other types of food that you can eat. It brought into my world cauliflower and cabbage and broccoli, like foods that I really hadn't eaten much. I was the big zucchini and bell pepper person, right?
Yeah.
So it just opened up, I think, our repertoire of foods to eat.
It is the
including
best
our
thing.
diet.
I put down like half an ounce of ginger yesterday, and I loved it. I juice it or I blend it, and I'm just like, wow, this makes me feel good. I never would have touched ginger a year and a half ago.
Right.
I didn't. It was foreign to me, and yes, my palate has opened up so much, and I enjoy my dinners. You know, I look at these big, fruitful, veggie-rich dinners. I'm like, oh man, that's so good. While you guys are eating garbage mac and cheese. Like, my taste buds have changed.
Yeah.
Now, the last two books we wanted to share with you are actually social media accounts or websites, because cookbooks are great, but there's still a ton of information you can get online. Ben Azadi is one of my favorite keto experts. He has an Instagram channel, a YouTube channel, and he interviews a lot of the keto experts and some of the science behind ketosis. But on his website, he has a guide called Keto Flex. This opened up everything to me, and I've become friends with Ben in the meantime and really love what he's doing. So Keto Flex is about being aggressive with your goals during the week and then backing off a little bit to replace nutrients on the weekends. This gives your body that sort of elasticity, that resilience it needs, and it's been a lifesaver for me. So I would recommend that you go down to his website and get the Keto Flex guide. He talks about the fruits and the veggies that you can still eat while, you know, being in strict ketosis, but then on those weekends, like how much of a green apple you can eat and things like this. So it's real practical and it's very in-depth.
And the last one is Maggie Jones at Mostly Vegan Keto.
I love her. In fact, she beat stage 4 cancer herself, and now her and her husband are making a documentary on how to beat cancer with metabolic therapy. They interviewed us for that documentary, and we get to be on it. So it was a wonderful experience. She has recipes on her website that are fantastic. And for me, you know, in the beginning, when I was choosing recipes, I was very disgruntled because my integrative doctor was telling me to eat this food, and I'm like, you don't eat this food. You know what I mean? Like, if you believe in this, why don't you do it? You know, I was real angry in the beginning. Then I found Maggie Jones, and she had this determination and this sort of like gumption that's like, I'm going to beat cancer and I don't care, you know, I'm gonna do it on my own. So she uploaded her whole journey, her x-rays, her scans, her everything, and on there are recipes, and I trusted that. And I'm like, she gets it, she understands what it's like. And so I began to make these recipes, and that, her website, led me to some of the other experts that have helped us on our cancer journey. And so we posted links to all of this stuff in our description box, and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. We hope that this channel is a roadmap to remission, that you would have a pathway to follow so that when you or someone you know gets diagnosed with cancer, it's not a fear of death that naturally hits you. It's a confidence that you know how to beat it because thousands of other people are beating it too.
Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.